It's the first May bank holiday and it's freezing. It's 9 degrees, but it was 7 earlier. Oh, Izzy says it's gone back up to 11. It's down below where she is. We left the moorings at 7:30 this morning. We're on our way to Konya. We've all just stopped off at Queenborough for half an hour just to wait a bit more tide to go before we go through the bridge. Can you hear the wind? I'm sorry. 16 to 20 knots of wind. We sailed all the way up here with no engine. It was really good fun. And we're just now meandering round the river waiting for the bridge. See you soon. We're sitting quite close to the big ship. Well, our luck at the moment, the bridge is going down. Half of them made it and we didn't. Well, 3 of us didn't and the rest of us did.
Kingsbury Bridge, this is Seahorse, over. Yeah, good morning. We're the other half of the Medway group. Will you still be lifting at 10 past as arranged, over?
Yeah, I've got a merchant vessel coming in for a 10 past lift.
Great, thanks so much. We'll hang around here then, listening out.
Behind again. Wowza. A tight squeeze. Oh my god, this ever last time. He's ringing the bell, we're going. Well, now we're still stuck behind this big boat because we don't know where it's going. And we don't want to shoot past it in case it's about to do a 3-point turn.
So once it was safe to do so, we got past that ship and headed off down the Swale. The forecast was for 10 to 15, gusting 20. How wrong it was to prove to be.
Calm down to 25 knots, it was 30 just now. Doing 6.7 knots though with just the jib.
We'd see gusts of 40 knots on this trip, and the local weather station just up the coast recorded a peak of 45, so we know it wasn't just our instruments, it really was a very windy day.
Right, it's really exciting. We've actually had over 30 knots of wind. It's been really good fun. Doing 6.5 knots with just the jib up. A lot of leaning over, everything's fallen on the floor. Elizabeth isn't too impressed. We're just going round Fowley Point and then we turn and head up. Because it's so bumpy though, it's not the kind of day you want to run aground, so hopefully everyone's going to be okay. Wish us luck!
Fortunately, of course, we're basically inland, so 40 knots of wind isn't the same life-threatening proposition that it might be if you're out at sea. However, we are going up Conyer Creek. And for those that don't know, Conyer Creek really is a very narrow ditch up a long line of mud. Ordinarily, it doesn't matter going aground too much in mud, but you don't really want to do it when you're getting blown around and bounced around on water like this.
Oh my god, we're all mad.
At this point we decided to get the fenders out, and you get a real sense of how windy it is. But in just a few yards we go into the lee of a line of trees and some buildings, and amazing what difference it makes. Unfortunately we get back into the wind before we got to the marina. Now things start to get a bit complicated. To start with, there was a boat on the way out, and we inadvertently went slightly too far to the right and went aground, the mud sucking us in hard. This let Pintail go past, not able to really stop in a controlled way in 35 knots of tailwind, and so deciding the safer option was to go past. What we didn't realise is that the elastic that ordinarily holds our jib on the foredeck quite safely isn't quite as effective in 35 knots of wind, and it had flicked the bow line that we'd tied to the front in preparation for our arrival at the marina into the water. And just at the point at which I decided to put it in reverse to hold station while we let Pintail get into its position, it wrapped itself around the propeller and we lost all drive. It's never good losing your engine in a marina, but it certainly isn't side on to 35 knots of wind, and we quickly got blown towards a pontoon and the boat. Hannah went down and made a quick emergency call to our fellow Medway cruisers to see if someone could come to help, and in no time at all we had a great bunch of people that helped manoeuvre us into this bay that we just happened to have rafted up onto.
Come out here, Hannah!
Fortunately, there was a big rubber buoy on the corner of that pontoon, so there was no damage done to the hull, and we managed to get the rope off the propeller, so no harm was done. So the next day, with Seahorse settled nicely in the mud, we all go off for a walk. Turns out, this part of the world's quite famous in the world of fruit. Apparently Henry VIII had his official fruit something orchards here, and something about cherries. It was all very interesting.
Right, so the cruisers, we've gone on a walk to the Plough Inn pub. It's a 6-mile circular route, so we've obviously just done 3 miles and we're on our way back now. The weather was sunny and it's decided to get a bit cloudy, but Elizabeth's trying a different route. All good fun and all good company. We finished the walk.
Then, the next day, as if we hadn't had enough of walking, we went on another walk. We went to check out the muddy creek we'd just come up. It'll give you some idea of how narrow a muddy ditch this is that we had to find our way up in all that strong wind. And we also went digging in the mud. Elizabeth likes a bit of mud larking, and we see what we can find.
Right, Elizabeth and I have found a boy that's gone astray. We think it's lost, don't we, Iz?
Let's take it home.
We are only here from the channel, so it's obviously got blown over into some kind of squall.
Not a lot of chain on that mark, is there? It's a measure of how little water there is here.
Okay, these two are still... Yeah, alright, we don't want you to actually sink. Yeah, or don't splash, dearie me.
Sorting everything out.
Look, this is a fossil.
Don't think so. I think that's just a bit of pottery. Looks cool though, doesn't it?
I don't think it's a piece of pottery though, Daddy. Look
What have we got then?
Look what it's on, Daddy.
This bowl connects to this bit.
Oh yeah.
That had a something on it. And
Got some cool
that
bottles.
had some writing on it. This is full of mud. It's going to take quite hard work to get that out. Yeah, that's another cool bottle. That's a cool little bottle. And we got a pipe bowl, but no stem connected. 2 pipe stems, so there are obviously pipes here. We just haven't managed to find one. Story of our life, that. Do you want that bit, Izzy, to take home?
Good job with signs here in case you don't know which way the footpaths go.
So once back, pretty much all we had to do was wait for the tide to come in before we could head off back home.
So this boat was here last year. It's a Dazcat, which is kind of the British equivalent to that boat that Riley and Elena sail, the Vagabond, in that it's a lightweight performance family cruising boat. It's very nice, but the reason I'm just filming it is because I've just walked around the back of it and noticed that everything underneath it is covered in fluorescent paint, which is a great idea, isn't it? On the very slim chance that anyone's unfortunate enough to flip it, at least it's easy to spot. We're sitting here waiting for the tide to come in. It's just about reached our boat. So we've only got to pick ourselves up another 1.5 meters or something when we get out. Kind of like an old wooden barge, the New Britannic. According to the sign on board, that's one of the D-Day boats, and that rescued 3,000 people from Dunkirk. Pretty impressive, isn't it?
So right now we are leaving
Konya.
And we're going to start by getting Wayne and Vincent's boat out, and then we'll do Grandad and Shawnee, and then it'll be our turn. So let's go!
It's the first Medway boat leaving. Maggie and Martin, they're the ones that very kindly organised our long walk yesterday. We've got a somebody with a lifting keel. Being brave getting through that little gap. I wouldn't want to go through that gap. All the motorboats see a yacht going and go, we must be able to go. Wow, that was good navigating, Martin. Well done. That's still leaning over that way. Oh, now another one going.
Of course, as Conyer's such a nice little place, it's very popular. It wasn't just us that came up here for the bank holiday cruise. A lot of the motorboats from the Rochester Cruising Club had come along as well. And as there isn't much time between the tide coming in and us all wanting to get home, there's quite a rush to get out, with lots of boats leaving all at the same time.
Trying to go over the bump. Yeah, they're off. Oh, look, it's like bucking like a donkey.
Okay,
Which way are we going? That way?
yeah, we're going to reverse all the way out, okay?
I got them here.
Give the baby then.
Which way are we reversing, Daddy?
They're going to go where the hole is, Izzy. They're not going to go near a land because it gets shallower.
Yeah, go on. Give it a big handful.
That's it. She's unsticking. Don't remember to let go, Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, because I'll come on the boat
Yeah.
with you. That was fun.
Okay, it's starting to get easier. Yeah, you're free now, then. Okay. Bring it round. Right, go on. You're off. Right, guys, drop them out for us. Know where all the boys are, don't we?
She's been really helpful, hasn't
Can
she?
you still see if I sit here?
Yeah.
Just hold on in case we stop.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, he said they were out the channel. Oh, look. Dog standing guard.
Two dogs.
So, oh yeah, I didn't see that one.
These guys are a long way from land.
So the bridge is going up. We actually made it with like, I don't know, 5 minutes to spare, didn't we? It wasn't long.
3 minutes.
We're not taking any chances this time with the Medway fleet. After they left 3 of us behind last time. We're all this close going through. Whee!
Cutting the corner here. Can't keep away from the mud on the east coast.
an hour to the moorings now, still pretty chilly, and we've had a really good time. I'm so pleased we made the effort again. Quite eventful with getting a rope round our propeller and losing the engine when you're entering a harbour in 35 knots of wind. That wasn't ideal, but we did it, and everyone ran and helped us, which just shows how lovely the sailing community is. For those of you that were interested, had some lovely comments regarding my health. The doctors were really pleased. I saw the surgeon, and he hopefully has cut all the cancer out, so he had clear margins. It hasn't spread to my lymph nodes, which is really good. So now we're just waiting for the treatment plan, which is either going to be chemotherapy and radiotherapy, or, with any luck, just radiotherapy and hormone pills. So I'll keep you posted. With regards to the comments on YouTube, we have a feeling YouTube is still going to have cancelled all our comments. So we've worked out we can have a community. If you go onto our page and go to community, then each film we're going to launch a discussion on that. It worked. A few of you, I think about 20 people managed to do that this time round. So yeah, it's under community, and you can still contact us then. So that would be lovely to hear from you. Take care. Happy sailing.